This is part 10 of the truth and the history of the corruption within the United States. See, towards the end of World War II, when it became obvious that the Allies was going to win and dictate the post-war environment, the major world economic powers met right here in Bretton Woods in New Hampshire in July of 1944. And they met to hammer out an agreement for international finance. See, the British pound lost its economic power and it was replaced with the US dollar. And this was part of the price demand that FDR put in place, and that was his requirement in order for the United States to be involved with World War II. And without the economic advantage of being the world's central currency, Britain was forced to nationalize the Bank of England in 1946. See, the Bretton Woods Agreement was ratified in 1945. And in addition to making the US dollar the global reserve and trade currency, which obliged the signatory nations to tie their currency with the dollar, the nations that ratified the Bretton Woods Agreement did so under two conditions. And this is where they messed up. See, in the agreement they made with the United States government, their first condition was that the Federal Reserve, you see already where they messed up? But it was that the Federal Reserve would refrain from overprinting the dollar, basically as a means to loot real products and real produce from other nations in the exchange for ink and paper. Basically, like an imperial tax. And the assurance of this was backed by the second condition, which was that the United States dollar would always be convertible to gold at $35 per ounce. Oh, this deal made them so happy. Because as you all should know if you've been following my series, the Federal Reserve is just another private bank. And they certainly do not answer to the US government. And they in fact started printing more dollars almost immediately. And much of the prosperity perceived in the 50s and 60s was a result in the foreign nations' obligations to accept these paper notes with the belief that it would always be convertible to the gold bars that was $35 per ounce. And in 1970, the Bank of France looked into their vault and seen that they had a lot of Federal Reserve notes in there, which they earned through their trade of wine and cheese. And the Bank of France called over to the United States government, basically wanting to exercise their option that they made during the Bretton Woods Agreement in exchange of these federal notes for the ounces of gold. And as we all should know, there was not that amount of gold sitting in the vaults of the United States government. Which brings us to arguably probably the biggest con artist of all time, President Richard Nixon. See, in August 15th of 1971, Richard Nixon suspended the gold conversion with the Federal Reserve notes. And this Nixon shock effectively ended the Bretton Woods Agreement. And other countries wanted out. Like for part 11 because I'm getting into all his dirt, yeah.